want to get Deepa Easwar into this conversation. Deepa Easwar, pro-life. Deepa, the fact is, let's put this in perspective. This is a woman who is mentally ill. She's suicidal. She has made it very clear that she can't take care of herself, leave alone another child. This is a woman who had no idea she was pregnant because she has a 1-year-old child who she's still nursing, so she's never got her periods over the last 1 year. So pregnancy for her was a shock. And she's made this clear umpteen number of times that she does not want the child. To then turn around and force a pregnancy on her, do you think that's fair?
Well, I think, this topic is a little sensitive for me because I am myself 37 weeks carrying right now.
Congratulations, Deepa.
This baby that we're talking about is 26 weeks pregnant. 26 weeks of age. So at 26 weeks, the baby can actually, feel, if you touch around your belly, it can respond, it can hear, it's not just a heartbeat anymore. It is a living body inside a body. And here we are talking about the parent you've been telling this repeatedly throughout the debate. I was listening, where the parents are adamant they don't want the child. They don't want this delivery. They don't want this pregnancy. But who's responsible for this? So I think...
But she didn't know. No. To blame the parents, she, as per her, Deepa, she was lactating, she was breastfeeding, she did not have a menses for a full year, and she had no idea she was pregnant. It was only, and having said that, she approached the court when she found out, and she was 24 weeks within the right, 1 day, 24 weeks and 1 day pregnant. We've dragged this case for over 2 weeks. She stands at 26 weeks, 1 day pregnant because it's dragged in court after court, and despite a 2-judge bench saying that go ahead, you can terminate your child.
No, ma'am, I think, we need to have a little more compassion here. So I know that one side talks about compassion towards the pregnant mother. I would definitely call her mother, though you said that, we should probably say the pregnant woman. I would say the moment the fetus is taken heartbeats inside a woman, she turns into a mother. So we are talking about compassion from the mother's side, but at the same time, what about compassion from that little, the little one that's growing inside? It has a right to its life. It's begun feeling things. It's begun hearing things. It is really cruel to say stop its heart. It's beginning to, slowly feel its mom's touch. I think what we really need here is to give a good counseling and good education, the awareness to this mother and this father, and we need to give them a good support system to bring this child up. Why are we talking about stopping its heartbeat, or rather, for the lack of another word, killing this little baby inside? Why are we talking about it from such a cruel aspect? Well, this is India.
Because Deepa, as I bring in Tara into the conversation, we are talking about it is because, sadly, sometimes mental health issues cannot be solved with counseling. Clearly, this woman
Are you sure about this case?
And she's on medication. She's been on heavy medication. She finds herself in a place where she didn't know she was pregnant, and she's very clear she doesn't want this child.
Do we have a doctor's certificate that says that her mental issue is irreversible? Have you given her enough support? Do we have a medical certificate that put it on record that this woman's medical or her health situation or her mental health is irreversible? Do we have we given her enough support? Why are we not exploring those aspects? And why are we so...
Madam, all I'm saying is that this woman has tried to take her own life. One can understand there's something a lot more complex than a certificate. Having said that, I'll come back to that, right? I'll come back to this conversation. I want to just bring in Tara Krishnaswamy into, it's a debate, Tara, because, right now I'm sure our newsroom is divided. India is divided. The top court clearly is divided, and you have the Chief Justice of India who's made that very clear that, okay, you've got you've got a judge who's supporting the woman, you've got a judge, who's talking about rights, autonomy, but what about the child? So yes, there is a division in terms of how we view this case.
Well, there's a couple of things I'll say, Preeti. First of all, that this is a very unusual case. We're not talking about the normal course of law, right? There are so many extenuating circumstances here. The woman has known to be, suicidal. She is depressed. She's under heavy drugs. There was no way she could have known, a woman knows she's pregnant when, you know, the menstrual cycle stops. And when that doesn't stop, you can't imagine you're pregnant, especially if you're feeding the baby. And, you know, normal course of action will say that, in fact, the government of India, the various state governments, public health experts will tell you that a woman shouldn't have children within a year, 2 years, at least there should be a gap before she has a child. So even for the child herself and the woman's body, this is unbelievable amount of demand on the body. Not to mention her choice and, you know, of not, of admitting that she won't be able to do this. That is one. The second thing to recognize is, given all this transpired, you know, after the 24 weeks or just after the 24 weeks, I wonder why this, and I don't know enough of the law to say this, but I don't know why the Supreme Court chose a 2-judge bench, because you can tie with a 2-judge bench. If you had had a 3-judge bench, at least one way or the other, the issue would have been settled. Now you're back with the tie, and this is not a good time to have a tie, because you're already past that 24-week, and every day, you know, counts for the fetus, counts for the woman who's pregnant. So those two things. And finally, I'll say that the fetus is viable, and that is an issue to consider. The woman's body, when she gives birth and postpartum, both in terms of mental health but also physical health, is not necessarily equipped to go through this, and one doesn't know what is going to be the effect on this woman's body, right? Given the drugs, given you know, the fact that it just went through childbirth less than a year ago or a year ago, and given you know, her own mental and you know, physical state. Given all that, you don't know if she is viable to do this, right? And when she is very clear that this is something that she doesn't want, I think it behooves society to take it very seriously, you know, and she, given also she's a mother, she is not trying to say, I don't want any children, oops, this is a mistake. This is much more than that. This is very unusual circumstances, and she has already been a mother, and she is suicidal, and she is saying this. I think it's what kind of this child being born into? What kind of situation is this child being born into? And that is part of the reason why the state is saying we'll give it up for adoption, because the state themselves are aware of the situation they're going to put the child into, given the mental and physical health of the mother, right? And the fact that the parents are saying this is not something that we anticipated and not something that we want. So I think there's a lot of reason to continue the pro-choice verdict here. And again, I don't know why they sat on a 2-judge bench and allowed the verdict to be tied at this crucial juncture.
Okay. You know, the fact is, yes, she did come in, but she came in 1 day late on what is now that grey area where you can actually go ahead and legally terminate your pregnancy. I want to bring in Nalini back into this conversation. Nalini, because let's go back to what the 2-judge bench said before it was transferred to a larger 3-judge bench. You had Justice Nagarthana, who made it very clear that the fetus has no separate identity from mother. So it was a point of view which was made very clear by one of the judges on that bench.
Absolutely. And Preeti, let's not forget that it was just last year that the Supreme Court had given a landmark judgment on the issue of abortion, where it was none other than the Chief Justice of India, Dr. D.Y. Chandrachud himself, who had said that women should have a complete right over their bodily autonomy, especially when it comes to issues like abortion or termination of pregnancy. So keeping that in mind, one must think at this point, is that judgment really even being implemented anymore, considering that we're still debating this. But in my opinion, this is one of a kind case that has come to the court. And of course, it's not going to act as a precedent, because in each of these cases, the court will have to look at the facts of each case to decide what needs to be done. But at the same time, why it's one of a kind is because the Supreme Court itself is divided, and that's the entire reason why we are saying that there is a pro-choice versus pro-life debate that is ongoing right now. Because when 2 women judges of the Supreme Court cannot agree, after once already having passed an order. I think one of the guests asked why there was a 2-judge bench, because it was a same 2-judge bench that had earlier allowed the woman to get her pregnancy terminated, but after the medical board's opinion, they had to go back and recall that order and hear the case once again.